does not look live yet.
I can volunteer myself to do presentations.
I think we're not live yet.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that we're live. Okay, I think we're good now.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Everyone. Welcome everyone to the 1.1.0 Thrive stream. Today here we have me, Aaron Kirsch. I am the new lead of the sound team. We have Dleeger, if I'm pronouncing that right. If you'd like to introduce yourself. Dleeger is typing. We've got Galaxy Dragon, in parentheses Raptor, here with us today.
Hello everyone.
We've got, of course, the lead developer and lead programmer, Hyverlanen.
Hang on, give me a second to remind everyone that the stream started because we don't have many viewers. Go there on screen. Be fine. Yeah, hello. I'm the lead programmer for Thrive and do a lot of programming stuff and managing development stuff.
Wonderful. Dleeger says, quote, I've been working on the Spore feature for this release mostly, as well as the process panel GUI rework. We've also got with us Mr. 42, part of the outreach team, who says, waiting for 3D model requests. We've got two people whose nicknames are Rathalos, but the first one, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm the real Rathalos. I'm the real one. The other one is fake. Trust me. I'm from the test team. I test things. Yeah.
And the second Rathalos, who I believe is the actual real one and is on the game design team. If you'd like to introduce yourself or type in the chat.
Yeah, indeed, that's me. I believe I'm the real one. And indeed, I'm on the game design team. One thing you will notice we've been working on in the last period is speeding up auto evo a lot, and also some of the changes to the difficulties settings is something that's new in this patch as well.
Wonderful. And that's everyone we have gathered here today. And I believe next we talk about the features in the new 1.1.0 release.
I'll post a link if someone.
I'll be honest, I don't quite know what the greatest highlights are from these patch notes, so if you'd like to go ahead, Hyverlanen, and talk about it.
Yeah, I guess I can start trying to cover the many things. So the main feature after which the release is named the specialization feature, which has been expanded to affect basically everything except osmoregulation. So unlike how I tried to write the initial tutorial message, that was the wrong thing, so it affects basically everything else except osmoregulation. And for multicellular, by placing cells in good positions, you can increase the specialization. So that allows very strong stacked bonuses. And the other big thing for the multicellular stage was the rebalanced reproduction time and the added spore reproduction method. And of course, we got quite many performance improvements like faster auto-evo, and the compound clouds are basically double the performance, or 4 times performance if you use the low resolution mode. It's also a new that's finally working. Clouds. Then we limited the oxygen tolerance slider to 10%, so that you are forced to use organelles to get tolerance. And then then we had bunch of toxin rebalancing, etc. Hopefully it doesn't make hunting with the toxins too useless. And finally, major thing was the Trivopedia species page. I decided that as I had a little bit of time left, I'm going to finally implement that one feature, because people keep reporting it as a bug that if you click on a species in then the species not highlighted in the evolutionary. And that was basically a placeholder that I did a few. I guess I now also had to do the non-placeholder thing with clicking on a species. Now opens its Trivopedia page, automatically created, and the player can remember. I think those were the major highlights. Of course, I could cover like bug fixes for the next, but I think that's enough of an overview. If anyone else wants to highlight anything that they specifically worked on or was interesting, then
I already said what I did in the podcast channel, so.
Well, one other thing to add is, especially for people who might have found the game a bit too challenging or difficult at times, is we've added a new very easy mode to make it possible for you to at least experience the game, even if you're struggling to survive most of the time. And this includes also one change that was made to have a general energy cost setting, which essentially means if you lower it, you will be much less likely to starve, which is making the difficulty setting have a lot more impact than it used to have.
A very nice set of features. Very quickly, we've got someone who's just joined us, AnIDFB, on the programming team. If you'd like to introduce yourself or type in the chat. Hello, says AnIDFB. Any questions asked in the YouTube chat will be pasted in the podcast channel for us to ask later. I'm not seeing any yet, but I believe next is the community questions from the forum thread. Is that right?
we usually preemptively answer the question of what's going to be in the next release. So, well, everyone who doesn't have the roadmap open yet, of course, as an open source game, everyone not forced to work on any specific features, so anyone can work on anything they want, so we can get also surprise features, but the roadmap has general guidelines on which order we will try to tackle some major features.
It looks like for 1.2, the main items on the roadmap, well, are cell specialization, which is already at least partially done, and spore reproduction mode as an extension for the budding reproduction type. And it seems that this one is partially done as well, but we still need to add a large bud reproduction mode. I have no doubt as well that there will be an assortment of miscellaneous features that get added based on the interest of our developers.
Yeah, and a ton of bug fixes because, well, you can either totally ignore bug reports or you can try to fix the ones you can. And one thing to note is that while each feature is quite big, most of the features on the roadmap aren't absolutely huge, so depending on the timing we might skip versions, like next release might be 1.3 if we get all the features done in time.
Very nice.
And,
It's also possible... Sorry for interrupting.
And, well, maybe I should mention that I'll be taking a summer break from Thrive development, so that will push back the timeline for the next release, or the amount of features it has quite a bit, so...
It's also possible that if any items later on our roadmap are implemented by a developer early, just purely based on interest, those could get shuffled around. And yeah, the roadmap is very much a suggestion rather than a concrete plan. But we did broadly go by the roadmap for the latter half of the microbe stage development. So we've had some new people that have just joined us. Welcome, Hexapod Philosopher, on the graphics team and the programming team. And welcome, Chuzo Lens, on the theory team.
I'll answer Mr. 42 that the music board is sadly dead. It has been buried. It no longer functions, so I'm actually playing some background music just for the live stream audience. Directly.
With our next release and plans addressed. Oh, one thing to briefly add. From the sound team side, which is a pretty small part of development, but I at least will be focusing in the near to medium future on filling out the soundtrack for macroscopic and aware stage, especially situational music, like for hunts and other encounters that the player might go through. And we've also got a collection, an album of the whole game's soundtrack that I want to say will be coming out in June or July. It'll just be uploaded to YouTube as well as the official Revolutionary Games Bandcamp. And it's a collection of microbe stage through space stage, all of the, I'll say, a curated collection of the best tracks and the tracks that are all already in the game. And so you can look out for that this summer while Hyrelanen is on vacation. But I think unless there's anything anyone wants to add, that is it for our near-term plans. And also welcome X-Fractalino on the programming team.
Somehow when I pinged everyone online on the community drive Discord, that got like way more messages than the announcement at everyone being about the new release. So I guess it's just the timing that everyone was asleep and somehow they ignored the ping entirely or something.
It's possible. I think then that it's time for community questions.
But let me get the priority questions up on screen. Might be there now. Again, we only have Doom Lightning, our most active VIP patron, asking these priority questions.
Shout out to Doom Lightning.
But
there-
if you can become a VIP, you can be one too.
Their first question: with the new updates you added to the current version, now that we have specializations at the multicellular stage, is it possible to also see specializations at the cellular level, similar to cyanobacteria with specialized cells for storage and cells specialized for nitrogen fixation, which are bacteria?
I don't think we have plans to extend the colony gameplay to the microbe stage, or at least to the prokaryotic part of the stage. That would have been a microbe stage roadmap thing and wasn't considered important to add.
No, I want to say we do have specialization on the cellular level, as in the cell itself. Even the microbe stage gets more efficient and effective the less different cell parts you have in it. However, from a conceptual level, we say once you go from all cells are the same to having specialized cell types, then that's effectively what we put in the multicellular stage.
So yeah, you do have the base specialization feature already, but binding with other different kinds of cells not really planned to be added.
Doom Lightning's second question: what is your biggest ambition that you want to add to the game in the near future? And also welcome Bolsa on the graphics team.
I think it'll have to be the multicellular auto evo. We have a bit over 6 months to do, so
That's a big one.
going to get somewhat interesting if we finish other parts of the roadmap, but
in the last year, what do you think the state of the game is right now in terms of awareness of it? Better, worse, or no change?
of course I think it's better because I do a very strict pull request reviews, so we don't get major feature breakages or code regressions. So of course I think each change is making the game better. And if that wasn't the case, then I think we would need to get more testing resources and other ways to verify that the game is not being broken by new changes or.
Yeah, I think the question is about like generally how well known Thrive is and how much people are aware of it. And I think we had some metrics about how much it's talked about, or at least the activity on some of our forums, but if I remember correctly, that was not going necessarily very much up or down compared to last year.
Yeah, I think for a direct answer, they asked better, worse, or the same. Mostly the same. If I remember right, we had a big spike around 2024, and since then it's been pretty stable. Nothing crazy happening
Well,
in
I
either
think the
direction.
spike was in actually 2023 because I just prepared the financial prediction for this year because I looked at the previous years. So 2025 and 2026 are going to look. It is. Oh yeah, that would mean 2024 was the abnormally higher year. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, 2026 is looking to be pretty much the same as 2025, which is unfortunate due to the financial problem is that we are spending more money than is coming in.
Well, I think the broad sentiment among the dev team is that as we move into the 3D stages, we're a lot more likely to get attention, if anything, just because 3D creatures are a lot more fun to look at on YouTube and on social media and things like that. Deleager says that their big ambition, to go to a previous question, in the near future is implementing macroscopic stage stuff such as model generation, texture generation, and animations, something that a lot of us, I'm sure, are very excited for. Moving on.
I just realized I missed the keyboard awareness of it in the question tree. So yeah, I initially answered the.
Yeah, we're good now. Do you think you'll do some kind of ecological editor in the future, like adding player-created organisms to a generated environment? A bit like Spore. For example, I have several creatures and I approve them to be added, and they are added by conditioning the evolutionary algorithm to try to create them.
Well, I think something like just dropping your designed features into an ecosystem and then see how it works together, or most likely actually be very dysfunctional at the start until it balances out. It seems technically possible, but I don't think it's feasible to do this via like conditioning the auto ecosystem to try to create those specific creatures. It's not really built for that.
I agree. I think it increased the scope pretty massively if we want to be able to railroad the auto-evo algorithm, so to speak, to create a specific ecosystem.
I think this is more like, well, I guess you could either see it as like some kind of preview where you see everything auto-evo is attempting and you can click yes or no to each choice. Or something like that.
Are there any materials you would like to add that are more relevant to the multicellular stage? Example, calcium for creating shells or skeletons, etc.
Well, if we were going to have things like that, I mean, the single-celled organisms can already have things like the calcium cell walls, which if we were going to include calcium, we would probably already require those here. in general, I think at this point we want to limit the amount of extra resources and things we put into the game, because the complexity is already quite high. So we would only want to add things like new resources in if it adds a lot to the choices and the gameplay richness to play around with them.
I think that answers pretty well. Do you plan to add mod support in the future? There aren't many mods right now, and those that do, they are more cumbersome to create new ones. I guess you might want to create a hole that will be easier to insert mods in the future if that's the goal. I will say, I am aware that we do already have pretty in-depth mod support. It's just that not a lot of mods are created, largely because people interested in adding things to Thrive and that have the skills can join the dev team. Creating a mod, for the most part, requires setting up a development environment and actually like interacting with the code in a way where you're set up to actually develop the game. So I think that's more a cause for the apparent lack of mods than a lack of modding support, because we do have modding support.
Yeah, we already have basically everything except pre-planning what kind of mods people would want to make and making it super easy to make those mods. It's already
True.
set up that you can modify anything that the game does in a mod. Of course, some things are harder, and the way you modify existing code in a mod is actually more difficult than changing Thrive itself. So it's kind of funny that developing the game is almost easier than making a mod, because mods can be much lower quality. But yeah, we do have mod support, and it's basically as good as I think it realistically even can be.
I agree.
Like if someone wants to make a specific mod and they would like more mod hooks in the game to make it easier, then like just let us know and we can add way more mod hooks to the game. But I think we need to have a demand first, or people can even make a pull request to the game, like asking that please put these hooks into the main game that my mod would need to work easily.
Absolutely. Icebreaker question. What type of game do you like to play the most apart from Thrive? It doesn't have to be a computer game. For me, it's the questioner says it's usually management, strategy, or roguelike games. League of Legends is also on the list. In terms of board games, it's Catan. I think personally, I don't play a lot of games besides Thrive. I play Minecraft. I play games with my friends sometimes. Games that I think are friend slop, as the kids say. Like Peak and Repo and things like that. If I had to pick a favorite non-Thrive game, basic answer, but probably Minecraft. Rathalos says a mix of Paradox games like Europa Universalis, and what you can tell from my profile pic, which would be Monster Hunter games, if I'm not mistaken. Hexapod Philosopher says strategy, roguelite, and side-scrolling fantasy games. Xfractalino says chess as a board game. and Grand Strategy is video games. We've got a lot of games here. Minecraft, Helldivers 2, gacha games, Rain World, simulation games, asymmetrical horror games, Ark Survival Evolved, Hearts of Iron 4. Quite a lot of different genres.
Those were all of the, well, the one person asking priority questions. So I think maybe we'll answer a few of the chat questions. I saw someone taking note of those. Or
Yes. The first one in the YouTube chat by BuilderBoy983. Would you say the bug fix speedrun video was effective at attracting more devs?
I think it sadly was not. It didn't get a ton of views, and of course, I don't think YouTube recommended it to random programmers who would have joined the team. More likely, people who already knew about Thrive saw that video.
A shame, because I do think it's a fun concept. Quow the Dragon 04 says, do you plan to add the old musics of the Thrive soundtrack playlist in YouTube where they were deleted? And will these deleted ones be added to Thrive? I can answer that question. I've done a bit of, I suppose, housekeeping on the soundtrack recently. I view all of the contributions that have been made in Thrive's history to the soundtrack as very valuable, and a lot of them are deleted from YouTube by people who either left the team or don't feel that their work reflects their skill level anymore. And there's also artists from 10 plus years ago who made songs for the game who haven't signed our modern content license agreement, I think it's called, basically just giving us like legal permission to use their content. So recently I've reached out to a couple of those artists, all the ones that I could reach out to. I've got some of them to get on board with signing that so that we can use their tracks. And like I said earlier, I've got a collection of all of the tracks that I could find that are by artists that gave us permission to use their work and that are good quality, both in the game and not in the game, both released as part of the official soundtrack before and never released as part of the official soundtrack before. And that will be showing up on YouTube and Bandcamp during the summer, likely during June. It's 50-something tracks long, and I've sequenced it to be a good listen, and I've taken great care to consolidate it all in one place. So, yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some of them were deleted and aren't going to be included in the game because their creators were unreachable or didn't want them to be, and some of them will be included in the game. Thrive soundtrack has a very long and storied history.
So actually, there exists tracks right now that we actually have permission for. but aren't in the game. I think those should be prioritized to be actually put in the game and forgotten again.
I agree. All right.
Like that you would be to just put them in somewhere, even if they're not. It will eventually be used in a different location to move to the right context later. Is that what you mean, or?
I think Patrick 26G joined. Welcome on the programming team.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Hi, sorry for being late.
No worries. I think that answers Quau's question. Moving on. Builderboy983 again asks, if it's possible to estimate, how much time would you say is in a playthrough right now? Speaking from experience, my playthroughs last between 1 and 2 hours.
Yeah, that's about reaching the end of the microbe stage. Like someone just posted on the forums, and I think maybe their playthrough was something like an hour 45 minutes to about the end of the current content, but they've obviously played Thrive many times before. Will impact things.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier how progress in the 3D stages might bring a lot more attention to the game. I think that'll also potentially balloon the playtime by quite a lot as well, because when players have a 3D world to explore and interact with other species in, there's just so many more possibilities and things to encounter in gameplay. So, you know, you could maybe take a straight shot through the macroscopic and aware stage in a couple hours, but if you really explore the world and observe other species and choose to immerse yourself, maybe it could last much longer.
Well, it will at least make it so that people will have to play the microbe and multicellular stages before getting to the brand new content. So I'd say that like first time players will take at least like 3 hours to get that far.
That's true.
Quite a bit of content, like even if the microscopic initially isn't much, but seems fun to play around in, then people will spend 3 hours to get there, then some more time there. So, and of course if they try a different lifestyle playthrough, that's another 3 hours before they get back to microscope. So
yeah,
Drive is a very, very big scam to get people to replay the early stages as many times as possible to get to the latest content. Then they'll have spent a ton of playtime. Like
it's all just advertising for the microbe stage.
Imagine once we have like the space stage and we announce that you can either be like hyper aggressive predator or more sessile creature, and you have to like build your entire creature from the start of the game until space stage differently to experience the different space stage like styles. So like doing another playthrough is just 20-hour detour to get to the space stage again.
Hey, as long as it's fun, it works.
Yeah, I put the forum questions back up. I think we should alternate between the forum questions and the live chat going forward, so we get both done.
Good idea. All right. Kefkor asks, will Thrive at some point on Steam and itch.io have their prices raised to accommodate the growing feature scope? At what stage is it ideal to reasonably raise the price of the game, in your opinion? Would it be somewhere in Aware or Awakening?
The plan has basically always been that we'll increase the price at some point, and I think like once macroscopic is pretty playable, like that would be the point the first time.
I think that's very fair. Number 2, an icebreaker question. Have you watched Project Hail Mary, the movie, or read the book? And what did you think of it personally? Personally, I live under a rock, and I have not seen the movie or read the book, though it does seem like a movie I'd be very interested in watching.
I've not heard whatsoever anything about this, so I didn't even know if it was a book or a movie, or both.
I don't know about it either.
It seems that the entire Thrive dev team is so focused on creating this game that we don't have time for movies.
I found the pause after you said the question so funny. Like nobody knew how to answer that.
Juzo Len says the stream is having audio issues right now.
What kind of audio issues? At least I don't see anything unusual on the streaming.
Yeah, I think it's doing all right. Someone in the chat is having issues. It sounds fine to most people, so I'm not sure there's anything that we can do about it. All right. Moving on. AAH on the forums asks, are you looking forward to adding sexual reproduction next after this updates Spores? Or do you want to finish Spores up first, or both in one release? Personally, I'm just very excited to be able to say that we've added the sex update.
Yeah, I think many community members will also like that. So we might have to officially call the release something else, but everyone in their hearts can know the real name. It released then.
As for like the question of that or finishing up the Spore mode, well, for the Spore mode, it's mainly done, I would say. The main difference would be addition of the function that it can directly transform into multiple cells instead of only one, maybe depending on how large the spore is. But that's functionality that would also be useful for the later reproduction modes. So most likely that's something that will that's going to be a feature that crosses over multiple modes.
I mean, what else can you call the sexual reproduction mode? The gender reproduction? Like,
Maybe we don't call it the sex update, but we lean into it like it's the sex in parentheses UL reproduction update. But we don't tend to name our updates anyways.
Well, all of the dev blocks have a name, so I think that's kind of a de facto.
AAH also asks, what is your outlook on the content creator outreach mission that started a while ago now?
The answer to that is, oh, was somebody doing that?
Yeah, basically my reaction is that, well, actually we did manage to make 2 or 3 more outreach content pieces for 1.0 than usual, so that was it.
Yeah, they may be seeing the extra pieces of content we put out, or they may be seeing that there's more like Let's Play content recently. I don't know if there is, but I think just today, Hirelinen posted a Let's Play that they've never seen before. People do make content about Thrive without us reaching out to them, which is nice.
Yeah, it's very rare, so I was surprised about the new Let's Play, and it's from a month ago, so already, and there's I think 6 parts, so people go watch those and give them watch time, so maybe more people will make Thrive videos.
Cass96 asks, so looking forward to Aware, actually, do you think it's possible to give individual members of your group personality traits, perhaps, or even a basic relationship system?
I think, well, of course we have the species-wide behavior settings. I don't think it would be extremely difficult to have like individual spawned members have a slight randomization on the behavior. I think that would be possible. But the question is whether it's a priority because of how, if it would actually add so much to the game. Of course, here we're also talking about Aware, which is still a bit far away in the future, so we don't have that clear an image of the surrounding systems yet.
All right. Their second question, do you think it'd be possible to flesh out Ascension perks some more, like how I detailed in my thread for ideas for Ascension perks? Like improve them at least some after either macroscopic or Aware is finished.
Well, anyone can go right now and make more Ascension perks if they want to, but officially we'll only make those once like we are in the space stage or even Ascension stage development, so officially they will take a really long time, and unofficially anyone can work on them right now if they want.
A very fair answer. Sorry, I'm referencing the actual stream for the forum questions. If you scroll down to the next one.
Don't we have did we answer that chat question that there was?
Where that one that I just sent is kind of at the end of the queue. We got a few from earlier that haven't been answered yet. Should we move back to the YouTube questions?
Yeah, I think we should swap over
All
after each.
Okay. The next YouTube chat question. Helimop says, when do you plan on working on the later stages?
And when the previous ones are finished. Of course, anyone at any time, somebody can start working on the later things, but the focus will always be on doing the earlier things first.
That about sums it up. And Amelia on the forums asks, do you think the multicellular stage will be finished by the end of the year, or has it been pushed forward?
Last time I checked, we're still planning to finish it this year. We've already made decent progress so far. At least that's from my perspective. I don't know how everybody else feels.
They also ask, what is your favorite concept pushed forward by the community?
Yeah, pretty quiet.
So quite often, actually, what I've seen is the most useful things you get from the community, in my opinion, are not very large concepts, but I've seen like some very specific small ideas that are very good on the specific implementation of the bigger concept. But because of that, it's difficult for me to right now remember one of those details picked up in that way.
Going back to the YouTube questions, BuilderBoy983 asks, generally, what would you say is the range for the amount of cells that multiplayer, I assume they mean multicellular, is balanced for? So the amount of cells that multicellular is intended to be balanced for.
I'm not sure if it's balanced for like any amount, but from the game performance standpoint, we still aim that colonies are most 20 cells.
So yeah, for of course, like balancing is the if we're talking about the gameplay balancing, it's very much in progress right now. But of course, the whole idea would be that the balance is such that you can comfortably move from a low amount of cells to a large amount of cells, large being the maximum 20, smoothly. And that the species in between those numbers can also survive. But that will take more balancing, especially as more mechanics get added in.
Very quickly, I'd like to point out, Grape in the YouTube chat jokes, Ascension perks ain't coming for like 20 years. Am I misremembering, or do we already have Ascension perks in the prototype?
There is one.
We already have them. We already have them.
One. By them, we mean one.
So yeah, we
do
just
have
need
one.
to add one more Ascension perk, and then we have perks.
That's true. Maybe it'll take 20 years, but we do have one.
Yay.
Anthropocenian Age on the forums asks, are there plans to add more reproduction types in multicellular, like polyembryony? I'm not familiar with that word.
Polyembryony essentially means like it's like identical twins, but on purpose, as standard.
Interesting.
And well, there are definitely more plans for more reproduction types, but for something like polyembryony specifically, that's just not something Thrive simulates or tries to simulate on any kind of level. Because typically we look at each member of a species as essentially genetically identical. That's just one of the limitations we have. So fully embryonic in specifics specifically wouldn't make any difference, I think.
Anthropocene Age also asks, what are your favorite non-macroscopic multicellular organisms? If you're asking non-macroscopic as in not as in they wouldn't be part of the macroscopic stage of Thrive, that would mean 20 cells or less. And I think the most famous like tiny multicellular organism people are aware of is the tardigrade, and a quick Google search says that those have 1,000 to 40,000 cells. So non-macroscopic is quite small.
I would take it a bit more broadly and say just like literally all microscopic, not macroscopic multicellular organisms. I mean, in our multicellular stage, we can only simulate literally only up to 20 cells, but I think we're trying to represent species also that have a bit more, some larger amount of cells than that. It's a bit similar to how many cells will have a lot of more mitochondria than we will show in Thrive.
Right. Rathalos posted Volvox, which is a very interesting looking multicellular green algae.
If I remember correctly, they're actually a colony of single-celled organisms.
Not multicellular. Back to the drawing board.
They make cell differentiation, so they count.
It is multicellular, actually.
Moving back to YouTube questions. Milk Lover 655 says, in the FAQ, under the What About the Society Stages section, there is mentioned something about a tech editor. Does the team have some ideas on how it will work, or is it too early to say?
I think for the society stages in particular, there have been design plans for that for a long time. I think anybody who made those designs is literally not active on the team right now. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I went through those designs at like a surface level, trying to figure out what soundtrack work will be needed for later stages. Like, are we going to have a tech editor? Are we going to have multiple tech editors? And it wasn't really clear from what I could see. So I just assume that there will at least be a tech editor. Whether there will be multiple types or things like that, I'm not really sure. I also saw something about a nation editor. It's unclear to me if that's going to be a thing or if it'll be more like a traditional grand strategy game where your nation changes as you play, or both. Those stages are pretty distant still, and I mean, it's pretty rare that we do in-depth game design for a stage that we're not currently developing or about to start developing. But of course, anyone in the dev team or the community is free to theorize and lay out plans for the future.
Yeah, in particular, I also need to, before we really get there, to take another look through the design of those stages and see how to match them a bit better with also the currently developing stages and how that design has evolved over time. But we'll have to see how that goes.
Iron Organism on the community forums asks, what is the most complex organism possible in the current plans for the future macroscopic stage? I think the most complex thing. Sorry, you go ahead.
One thing is we're still looking at exactly where the border is going to be between the macroscopic and aware. And most likely some kind of the complex nervous systems, like a brain, which means, if you're looking at an animal, then the most complex macroscopic stage creature will still be something like a worm or sponges, but the macroscopic stage will also include pretty much all plants till the end of the game. So yeah, some level of complexity, but probably not so much in the territory of limbs and that kind of complex behavior.
Yeah, I think that the Cambrian explosion in real life on Earth would be the beginning of a wear stage. And that's when, most of I guess the complexity showed up, at least in the way that we would understand it. They also ask, I know planimals, which I assume means plant-like animals, are not planned for the player to be in later stages, but can the player use iron, like as an energy source in the aware or whatever stage? And does this apply to all other energy sources? I'd like to say I think our philosophy is not to. I think the philosophy is if you can make it work evolutionarily, you can make it work, and if you can't, you can't. The reason there's likely not to be planimals is because there's real reasons in the real world that animals don't have photosynthesis and plants don't move around, and that has to do with energy constraints and things like that. And we're aiming to have an accurate simulation. And so if our simulation is accurate enough, then energy constraints and other factors will limit you from being, a photosynthesizing animal. But I don't think it'll be impossible. I think players will be able to find a way around it, and I think that that's perfectly cool.
Yeah, and also this doesn't preclude, for example, an animal being able to do also photosynthesis, but probably the way we'll implement it is that will not give you enough energy to survive and move around by itself. But that's pretty much what you said.
Yeah.
And the same thing indeed goes for iron. The type of iron that you can get energy out of will probably be rare enough and dilute enough that it will be very difficult.
Yep. It reminds me how in real life there are animals that live in caves completely sealed off from the outside world, but those animals tend to be very small and not as complex or numerous as animals on the surface because their energy source is so limited. On YouTube, BuilderBoy983 asks, the game is already pretty laggy with large multicellular organisms, so how do you plan on getting future stages to work when the organisms are even larger?
Well, maybe Hirolainen can be more certain about this answer, but essentially, a multicellular organism of 20 cells is simulating 20 different objects, and once we move to the macroscopic stage, every animal will still be one object. So in a lot of ways, it will be actually easier for the computer to handle that, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, it will be about 20 times easier. Like instead of having 20 cells that make up of a colony, so their physics bodies are fused together, so it's not as bad as having 20 physics objects. But in terms of rendering, our cell rendering is very not optimized, so that's why we have the limit of 20 cells in a colony, or soft limit. And then once we switch to multicellular, macroscopic, each macroscopic creature will be rendered by like its own character. So there's more than like 20 times work for multicellular species compared to like macroscopic.
On the forums, That's Me asks, when will AI be able to go multicellular?
Probably at the same time as we get multicellular auto evo.
Yeah, which is maybe I'll find the time to work on it in between this updates and the next updates, but whether I'll get it finished enough to have it added in that update, I have no idea.
And a second question, do you plan for plants to evolve too in macroscopic?
As far as I know, that is the plan.
On YouTube, Galco655E asks, when it comes to 2D to 3D, does that mean once you solidify cell structure and the cell tree, so base cell and then skin cell, bone cell, muscle cell, etc., for the biological creature, does it make it into 3D parts of the body? I think they're asking if your cell structure will be translated directly into 3D at the start of the macroscopic stage, and I think that is how it behaves currently.
Yeah, that's what it does.
So the answer to that question is yes, and in fact, that's how it is right now. Also on YouTube, MilkLover655 asked, will other species be able to progress to other stages first? And multiple people, I think, have responded to that. Hexbot Philosopher says it'll always be that the player's species is the first to reach a stage.
There has been some suggestions of having a possibility where you might get an alert that somebody else is moving ahead of you and you need to catch up in time, because otherwise you would be left behind, which would essentially be a game over, but it depends on whether that's worth actually implementing.
I think it adds enough of a I think it changes the gameplay enough that it's plausible there might be a setting for it in the future. But
Yes,
it seems
if we had it, it would be a setting also
Yeah.
included in a difficulty setting.
CHKDDD on the forums asks, how is the progress on the 3D world generator going? Haven't heard much about it. As far as I know, the progress, we haven't got any updates on the progress since the last
Looks like
live
we
stream.
just got an update.
Oh, did we?
From Hyperbolic.
Oh, perfect. They say, Hyperbolic Hadron, the main person working on that, says, have been on a hiatus recently. We'll be working more on the world generation system once the summer arrives. World generator progress has otherwise just been on the back end features, so no new visuals to show off yet. So the answer to that question is still underway. A lot of important work is being done in the background, and we might see more this summer. We've got a screenshot here from the last stream showing what looks like procedural trees, cities, and stars in the sky. And their second question is, what are your theories as to how Auto Evil, Freudian slip maybe, Auto Evo will handle multicellular? I think me accidentally calling it Auto Evil is fitting, because multicellular Auto Evo will be very difficult, I imagine.
Yeah, I don't want to try to predict it. I think once it is working, then we'll know how it was done, but trying to predict what will give good enough results and be computationally simple enough, probably impossible.
Yeah, I used to be more concerned about it, but the recent updates to Auto Evo in general have sped it up enough that it seems probably more plausible that it will be working fast enough. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes along the way.
I do think we will figure it out, but it's one of those things where a entirely sane group of game developers would plan this out in advance and go, yeah, we're not doing that. Let's figure out how we can scope this down a little bit. But at Revolutionary Game Studio, we do things differently. I think that's all of our YouTube questions for now. Let me check just to make sure.
Someone has a really good opportunity right now to ask in the live stream chat something. Also, I noticed that there's an imposter among the forum question thread.
Well, I've never heard of this iMan Productions. I've just heard of Rathalos.
Yeah, well, I've heard of basically anything productions or everything productions.
Maybe they got subsumed.
Formerly known as Iman.
Yeah, I think they got subsumed into the some sort of Rathalos hive mind that is spreading, as we have two identical ones in the call now. But they ask, what feature in Thrive do you like the most?
I think for me, that's just Auto Evo in general. I think a game where you can actually move around yourself, but at the same time also an evolution simulation works on everything around you, is actually very unique.
I agree. I think the design of the patch map in particular, as the interface with like the world and the auto evo is pretty genius because it's an incredibly simple representation of what's really a very complex system. And the icons are satisfying. It feels intuitive to move around. And having a intuitive system to move around your entire planet as a species of trillions, quadrillions, however many microbes, is pretty impressive. I'm also a big fan of the Auto Evo Explorer that I think a game dungeon added. Welcome back, X-Fractalino, who I think just rejoined us. And Rathalos, formerly iMan Productions, also asks, what feature in Thrive do you dislike the most? Controversial Thrive takes. Interesting. Galaxy Dragon dislikes radiation. I mean, I think anyone would dislike radiation, but as a feature.
I think there's a new chat question we can answer before
There is.
answering the last forum question.
Builderboy983 asks, have any of you heard of the new terrain diffusion noise generator? It's supposed to be really good at creating detailed, eroded-looking mountains in chunks on the GPU. There is a Minecraft mod for it. I have personally heard of this. I'm sure other developers will be able to provide better insight. But it is a very interesting, very capable terrain generator that's pretty innovative. But it does have some limitations. It renders on the GPU, which would, I assume, mean having a poor GPU would kind of limit you from playing the game. I might be mistaken on that, but
yeah,
it's
actually,
yeah, and it's also quite a new, like, I guess, paradigm for terrain generation, and there's no rivers. It does not work on a globe. It works on an infinite 2D plane. So it's very promising, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the future part of this becomes standard for world generation in games. Maybe Thrive will incorporate it somehow. But I think in the near to medium future, there's not a known way we could incorporate this.
yeah. And actually, looking at it, this uses like the same acceleration technologies as like the actual generative AI things.
Yeah.
And right now, this repo I'm looking at it only mentions CUDA. So everyone with non-NVIDIA GPU, no Thrive for you.
Yeah,
And
that would be
also
not
anyone
ideal.
still depending on the fallback OpenGL renderer also means no Thrive for you. So I think this is kind of a total no-go, because even if we do have some kind of GPU speed up for people with fast CPUs, we also must have a CPU fallback. And I think this diffusion stuff is going to be so slow on the CPU to ineffective. So, so we must have an algorithm that can be used on the CPU as well, if the player doesn't have the latest and greatest GPU.
It does exist as a Minecraft mod, however, so it is possible it could exist as a Thrive mod in the future.
This is actually, yeah, pretty interesting, and we probably need to like share with Valve, because is this generative AI that's happening like in real time? Because if it is, then that needs heavy labeling and heavy guardrails and all kinds of stuff to be clarified with Valve or a Steam game. So technically, probably players would see that this is clearly different from generative AI, but technically this is basically exactly the same as the generative AI that everyone hates.
Yeah. Certainly
well,
very
this
interesting.
is certainly very interesting and new thing, but like too early to really say this would be any use in Thrive development.
That is all of our YouTube questions for now. Anyone who has one, this is your opportunity to type a question in chat. But otherwise, we have our last question on the community forums, asked by Acne. In the macroscopic stage, would it be too difficult or frustrating to survive the juvenile phase as an extreme R selection species that relies on predator satiation, which would rely more on RNG, just hoping you aren't the one randomly eaten? So if I'm not mistaken, an R-selected species means that they have few and infrequent offspring?
I think it's actually the opposite, or at least I think from the appearing from the question is they mean the opposite. Like, what if the strategy is to just spawn like countless weak and non-defensible offspring, and then just hoping that you survive? Well, so for one thing, fortunately, if you make that strategy, then that was your own choice to give yourself that experience.
Yeah, so R-selected species have a lot of offspring very quickly. K-selected species have few offspring every once in a while. And yeah, we absolutely will offer different reproduction strategies and survival strategies like that. Yeah, their question is asking if it would be too difficult to survive as a juvenile in one of those species. So, octopi, I know that they have many eggs, and a lot of the young get eaten. But if we're going to include something like that in game, then it will be survivable. It'll probably be a farewell, Patrick. They've just left. Sorry, I got kind of distracted. But yeah, it definitely won't be too difficult to survive. It will likely be a factor in gameplay, though, and maybe like sort of a mini game, like survive being born and being a juvenile.
Yeah, you can optionally make Thrive into a bullet hell game.
Right.
Of course, you will always have the benefit of you yourself are a human being in control of the organism, so probably you can
That's true.
take advantage of that to use your siblings as the living shield.
Out of those many, many offspring, one of them is controlled by an extra dimensional god, that being you, the player. So they do have an advantage there. Yeah, very good question. Sorry for swapping R and K selection right at the beginning there, but I hope that that clarifies it. And that is all of our community forum and YouTube chat questions.
It feels rare that we actually get through all of them like this.
Yeah, it's kind of random whether we get through all of them, because if we had like maybe like 4 or 5 more forum people asking and a few more active chatters, then we would still be answering stuff in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that was kind of relatively fast compared to the last stream.
It's
I bet our
probably
usual askers.
this time of year that there's a lot less drive activity and watching.
I bet our usual askers have also just become Rathalos, like Iman here has, and are currently actively applying to join the dev team.
I think we can do at least one thing to pass the time and tell people that they can join the development team.
Very true. I believe Juzo Lens earlier said that before the stream ends, they'd like to announce the winner of the first community loading screen artwork contest. And congrats to Trappist 1E on being the winner.
I think this is the winning artwork, so I'll leave it the stream for a little bit.
Very beautifully done. That is true. We are at almost 10K. This stream was going to partly be dedicated to celebrating 10K, we decided, but we aren't technically at 10K yet. So if you want to subscribe, that would be great.
Yeah, we are missing 19 subscribers. So I'm not sure if there's anyone watching who isn't subscribed.
What did the YouTubers say? The algorithm shows that 90% of you aren't subscribed. It helps out the channel a lot.
Do you know that only negative 10,000 people are subscribed to the channel? Subscribe will help a lot. Do you know there's a bug in the YouTube algorithm that makes you unsubscribe from the channel?
New data shows that you're not getting recommended our videos. If you want to make sure you see our new videos every time, hit that subscribe button.
Subscribe to get a free candy or potato. I don't know. Free glucose. Subscribe and get some free glucose.
You get Thrive for free if you subscribe.
So if you don't put, details.
I think
Thank
we
you.
might not hit the 10k subscribers because YouTube says that in the past 28 days we've gotten 21 new subscribers, so about one a day, so might still be about a week off from reaching 10k.
Well, thank you to MilkLover655 for being our 9,900 and I want to say 80th subscriber, because they said they've just subbed now.
That's the latest subscriber count that I see.
So yeah, I think they should get like a plaque in the mail for that. 84. Your number 9,984.
I've sometimes shown Thrive gameplay on the stream, so for ending we can show a bit of Thrive gameplay.
Perfect. We have a additional non-Thrive related question in the chat. Builderboy983 asks, is Moore's Law dead?
What? What?
This is now a technology debate podcast. For anyone unfamiliar, I'm not an expert or anything, but Moore's Law is a prediction that the number of transistors on microchips doubles every 2 years, which was broadly true from the 1970s to the 2010s. But my understanding is that it's slowed down a little bit because transistors have gotten so small that quantum effects kind of prevent us from making them any smaller.
I think the new approach is to do like vertical stacking to get more transistors onto a chip. So technically, if they get good stacking technology going on, like the rule that you can double like the transistor count on the same surface area chip, could kind of stay true. I think, yeah, the efforts to do that have not fully succeeded. I think I'm showing the Thrive gameplay right now.
Yeah, I see it.
Maybe I should show the new features like the Trifo PP.
We have a Thrive-related question, and that is from MilkLover655.
Does the fossilization feature not work in multi?
They ask, where is the best place to find info on the game's development and progress updates?
Well, if you're in our official Discord server, you're always going to get pinged by announcements of the major updates and also of the weekly progress updates. And the same goes if you are in our classic style community forums.
our ancient style community forums for old people.
Yeah, which everyone loves to say on social media that they miss the old forum days, but then they don't sign up to our.
Yep.
Here's the new Trivopedia species page. You get to it by pressing a speed. Then you can pin it if you want.
An icon was made by.
I think that was Iman saying they made the icon for that.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Does anyone know why doesn't the fossilization buttons appear in multicellular? Is it actually disabled? If so, I think we should enable it, as multicellular is no longer a prototype.
Yeah, honestly, I don't remember it not working, but that might have been just lack of trying.
Yeah, I'm just trying it with the brand new console, and yeah, it just does not appear, the button. Only difference is loading in either microbe states or multicellular.
Might have been disabled because it doesn't know. It's not been programmed yet to decide what to do with
Multicellular species.
organisms with lots of different cells. So where do you put the button and things like that?
Well, I mean, I think it's more likely that it's not done for multicellular species, like the fossilization dialog just doesn't do anything, or something along those lines. So I'll either open an issue next week or going on vacation.
Oh, and looks like indeed I remember seeing a YouTube question about the multiple species in a civilization. And I don't remember us answering that, did we?
Maybe we skipped that one.
But in any case, I think it would be fun. I think it might be likely to create a situation where it's likely to happen, but I don't see it as impossible for us to have it.
Yeah, I did miss that question. I see it now. They asked, would there be multi-species civilizations? So I guess one civilization that has multiple species in it. And I don't think that's been part of our game design, but it's going to be a bit before we get to those stages. And I mean, there will be domestication of other species. I can say almost for certain, because that's such a big part of civilization. And if those domesticated species are intelligent themselves, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, I think
Maybe that's just part
I
of your
think
civilization now.
quite a big problem is the time scale stuff. Like as you advance, the game time scale goes down, so the other species don't get like chances to mutate, catch up with your amazing smartness. So
That's
I
true.
mean that makes it less likely, and so I think it's like not going to be like the primary focus on the stage, and as such, it's not going to get priority developed.
I'd like to add, though, that humans, Homo sapiens, evolved alongside quite a few other human species that were at least mostly as intelligent. It just so happens that we wiped them all out or bred with them until only Homo sapiens remained. So
Yeah,
it is
but
possible.
the question is about civilization, so I'd say that it is talking about the society stage. And on Earth, I think humanity only reached the society stage equivalent of Thrive, only after all human-like species were extinct.
Yeah, it would just be a case of like, okay, what if that does not happen and they're still around? I think that's the idea.
Yeah,
Which
it's really a
indeed is
bridge.
not a priority, but I think we could keep in mind that we don't put a hard lock on preventing that kind of thing, and then just see eventually if somebody has the time and the will to try to implement that.
Yeah, it'll depend a lot on what people feel like doing when we get there. Hyperbolic Hadron added that interstellar empires will likely have many multi-species empires or civilizations. So
yeah, it would make sense to pre-plan for that requirement.
I'm an advocate personally that it should be possible for essentially like a Homo sapiens and Neanderthal type situation where they went extinct pretty recently. And my opinion is that they were already in society stage. They had complex tools, they had social structures, tribes. It's very much open for argument, but I think that you can make the case that humans and Neanderthals and maybe even a few other species made it to society stage, but they all got wiped out pretty quick. I think there is a world that could exist where there are multiple human species on Earth today, and I think it would be good to make that kind of thing possible and thrive. Different lineages would be a much tougher thing, like Juzo Lens says. I'm not sure how possible that is.
I think it's just unlikely to happen.
Yeah.
But as with that, it might still be possible for you as the player to kind of artificially set it up by hanging on the edge of the stage transition and waiting for somebody else to catch up, I guess.
It kind of reminds me of the No Man's Sky situation where like they talked about like sharing the world with other players and stuff like that. And then in reality it turns out that they hadn't implemented multiplayer at all. But instead they talked about as if it was there, but it was so unlikely that players wouldn't see it.
Yep.
And then they found out that it's not actually possible. Kind of similar case here that like if you need to specifically try to force this to happen, then you could get this super special secret feature most players couldn't trigger. So I think we'll need to keep that in mind when at least allocating official development resources. Of course, if this is someone's like favorite feature, they can then implement missing parts themselves. But as a primary development focus, I think it's a bit difficult to justify because this would be so like minor thing that most players wouldn't notice, and if we put a ton of resources into it, then society states as a whole would have way fewer like main features.
Yeah. We have another YouTube chat question from 4Kroner Cola. Will surface plant life be derived from multicellular creatures, or will there be a pool of preset trees and weeds, etc.?
Well, I mean, the dream of Thrive is that Auto-Evo will make all the plants as well that the player can see.
By the way, whoever plays Thrive right now should probably Spore late because, yeah, the compost storage is full.
Well, I turned on the cheats, but I guess this is good time to show this germination button. So you germinate, change entirely what you are, and then you can start growing.
Sporulation icon was also made by.
The show of the big shape, the pili working totally correctly.
Nice.
Oh, that's a lot of polygons.
Don't worry, you can get way more.
Yay! I still regret making this sporulation icon so thin. Like in the ink space, it was the outline was really thick. Like I don't know what happened. Maybe it's the way Thrive scales down SVGs.
I think it's just it's going to be so small in the game that the lines need to be really thick. Because if someone plays on a 4K screen, I think the icon will look not so thin. Even if the pixel ratio is the same, there's going to be a lot more pixels to work with. But yeah, our base resolution is 720p. Many GUI elements are pretty small, so they scale down the textures also a lot.
By the way, I already uploaded a new version in this devs center. So if anybody wants to fix that, they can fix that. Yeah.
All right.
Need
Builder Boy.
Someone with a little bit of Git usage skills too.
Yep.
Yeah, so not me.
Also, this is the reason why the multicellular stage is planned to end at 20 cells, because you're absolutely huge. All of the cells are individually simulated still, and if you want to see like maybe even 3 or 4 other big colonies like yourself to fight against, then that's a lot of cells.
Question from BuilderBoy983. In your opinion, what's the biggest issue in the game right now?
I think it again has to be the engine problems, that like the engine just seems to give up after a few hours of playing. Of course, because most of the time it happens in, well, okay, it's kind of funny because like when productions is testing, most of the time the game breaks in macroscopic, but actually most of the bug reports are about the cell membranes being dynamically generated and triggering the same code error. So I was thinking that there is maybe a small chance that there's some kind of problem or non-allowed thing that we are doing, but it like differently or something. Yeah, well, yeah, the engine is either has a problem or we need to do something like only generate meshes on the main thread or something, but I've looked at the documentation and it kind of promised that you can make meshes from any thread. So, I mean, there is some investigation we could do, that like a test that just makes membrane shapes or macroscopic reach as fast as possible, and that causes a crash much faster than you. But I haven't done that test because, well, it would take probably a few hours of my time to set up, and if that doesn't find anything, then that just would point back to the original thing that the engine just fails in some way after few hours of play, and then it unpredictably breaks some part of the game.
Yep. Thank you to MilkLover655 for subscribing to the Patreon. We do have a Patreon if you'd like to financially support the game.
Yeah, if you want to help out each month, you can do that. Of course, if you want to, or you only have for a one-time payment, you can buy Drive or the Drive soundtrack on Steam. Also support.
That is correct. Four Kroner Cola also asks, what are the plans for bioluminescence? It's such a cool idea.
Well, right now, the idea is for the microbe stage to stay more or less as it is now, with it mainly being a way to improve your oxygen resistance, which is more important now with changes to the oxygen tolerance system. And it's likely that once we hit the macroscopic stage, it becomes it takes up different functions with visibility and either scaring away other creatures or actually luring them in somewhere. It's actually quite an interesting example of a trait that evolved in one size of creature for one purpose, and then takes up entirely different functions when you put it in a different context, at least in real life. So it would be nice if we can mimic that also in the game.
Someone asked that why 80% was the lowest GUI scale possible, so before giving to do some other stuff, I made the change, or I asked my AI agent to make the change that changed the max minimum scale from 0.8 to 0.6. It looks like it has done it correctly, found the right place and changed the one number, which I was too busy actually to change, so I was doing some multitasking. I was preparing the publishing of the dev blog and had AI do one tiny bit of work on Drive.
Fair enough.
Does seem like it doesn't cause any totally major issues, so I think I will just change into the game. Happy who wanted even smaller size. A GUI made for ants. Because you can barely see at the default minimum resolution. I think
Space EP, sorry.
I think the game does work, so nothing.
Nice. On YouTube, Space EP asks, or declares, this game needs an improved intercellular matrix, and then asks, is it just a placeholder or no?
It would be extremely difficult and require very specific skills in changing it. So it's kind of theoretically a placeholder, but it's the only solution that's easy or within the realm of possibility to do. Basically the same as the colonies being like rigid. Once you attach, there's no softness to the attaching. Like these changes would be theoretically possible, but so difficult that they are not going to be put on the roadmap or anything like that. So
yeah,
it's not really in the plans to try to change these things.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was like this one idea of
making a matrix around all the cells, almost like the membrane exists around the individual cell parts right now, but then you would need somebody with specific, graphics programming skills to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then with all the other changes around that.
Yeah, there was a prototype even that kind of sometimes managed to make the membranes touch each other by changing the points a little bit, but doing that properly is going to be very difficult. And of course, while the visuals would then be connected, the physics shapes wouldn't be connected, so someone would also need to modify the physics generation code to fill up the gaps.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And by the way, I think it would be cool to show the new skeleton structure thing in macroscopic while the gameplay is showing.
Yeah, we are closing on the 2-hour mark, so I think we soon. But I can quickly. Actually, this species is ready to go to microscope, right? So I can. Auto Evo is faster now, but still not. We still don't have macroscopic species previews.
We have made some pretty drastic performance improvements in the past few months, though.
There's the new skeleton structure visualization that shows which metaball is connected to which one, and move things more predictable. There, the dependent metaballs as well.
Nice.
Someone changed the light properties a bit to ensure that problem. Your species is like very tall. Because before there was a point light which you could actually block with your body.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's maybe probably enough. Drive gameplay. And do we have any good last question to
That,
limit?
yeah. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Well,
Until the next stream.
Yeah, you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months.
Ew, that's AI.
I'm not seeing any
I don't think we
questions.
see any more questions.
Well, in that case, that has been the Thrive stream for the 1.1.0 release.
Yeah, and hopefully everyone either already had the chance to play the release or will play the release after this. Enjoy all the new changes.
Thank
Alright,
you everyone for joining.
I
and-
guess that's that. Let's say bye, and I'll stop the stream.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for coming to the stream.
Alright, bye.